Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 number 14 Junkheap. So this is Wreck-Gar's buddy, and we met him in the 86 movie on the Junkion planet during the dance party when they were having a good time reassembling Ultra Magnus. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging, and we'll start right up here at the top. You have Transformers the movie, Takara Tomy. You've got that really cool artwork right there where he's looking all angry. He is Junkheap. On the side, you've got that artwork again. On the back, you have your product shots, and then you've got a little bit going on back here. Big screen inspired, the Junkion dance party. And Junkheap leads the efforts to piece together the remains of Ultra Magnus. He converts in 22 steps. A backdrop is included. You've got our warnings down here, and the baby's sad because, well, he saw Ultra Magnus dead and in pieces. And over here, you've got 8614, a close-up of that very angry face. It's a shame we didn't get that face on the figure. Instead, we just got a stoic face, but he is a Voyager class. Down low, you have some manufacturing or additional information. Up top, you have Transformers the movie, and that is it as far as packaging goes. So let's get into the meat of this thing and see what came inside that box. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box with Junkheap, and we'll start as we always do with a little sheet of warnings. Good to have those. And then you get your instruction booklet. Always good to have that as well. So that leaves us with what we have here. And he comes with the exact same accessories as the Studio Series Wreck-Gar. They're not bad accessories, but I would have liked to have seen maybe something different on this guy. But anyway, let's get into it, and we'll start over here. He comes with his two wheels, which you will need for the motorcycle mode. And you plug these right onto his spikes on his person, and they are yellow and just like the ones we saw for Wreck-Gar. Sorry if I sound underwhelmed. I don't mean to sound underwhelmed. It's just there's nothing new here. So if you've seen Studio Series Wreck-Gar, or if you've seen that review that I did, then there are no surprises here. They spin nicely, so, you know, that's nice. So you get two of those exactly the same. And then you get the big spinny murder axe of death. And this one doesn't spin as nice as Wreck-Gar's does. I mean, you can still get a good spin out of it, and it is still kind of addictive. If you want to just spin and spin and spin, you can do that. But same thing as what Wreck-Gar has. Same exact molded colors, same sculpt work. Nothing different whatsoever, other than it just doesn't spin quite as well. And that leaves you with what you see here. So you do get, because he is a Studio Series 86 figure, you do get that display base if you choose to use it. As I've stated in previous reviews, although I appreciate these, I don't have room, so they go back in the box, and the box goes into storage. But it's good that they supply that, and I guess that's welcome for those of you who have room. But that background is the planet Junkion, where Junkheap lives, and I'm sure it's a lovely place to visit. I don't know if I'd want to live there. Alright, so that's it for everything that came inside the box, except for the Junkion himself. So let's go ahead and bring him in, and we'll take a look at his details. Here he is, the Junkion we've all been waiting to see. This is the Studio Series 86 Voyager class Junkheap. So let's bring him in and take a look at those details, and we'll start right up here with the head. Now, a majority of this figure is Wreck-Gar as far as the molding and everything goes, but there are a few distinct differences, the head being one of them. So let's take a look at that. It looks pretty good. As I mentioned earlier, it would have been nice if we would have gotten the screamy face that was on the box art instead of the stoic face. Right here, he just looks kind of bored. But it's still a good looking head sculpt, and I do like his sunglasses. It's a little Terminator-esque. I don't know why it reminds me of the Terminator, but it does. And you got a little bit of blue up there. And then you do have these bull horns, which are really cool. So I do like that. It's a nice touch. And then down here you've got that chest, which is different than Wreck-Gar's. So Wreck-Gar has his big chest guns right here. Junkheap does not, but he does have some exhaust pipes. And then everything basically from here down is the exact same thing as Wreck-Gar, so just molded in a different color. Sculpt work looks good. The paint, what little there is on the figure, looks pretty good. You do have a few hollow areas inside, just like what you saw with the Wreck-Gar mold. But it's pretty well put together. I do overall like this mold. I like the articulation and the details that you get in this mold. So now making our way over to the, well, you can see the sides. Let's not skip over that. We're not going to gloss over stuff. So there you go, there's the sides. Wreck-Gar does have paint right in here, so he does have a chrome engine, and Junkheap does not, so that's a little bit of a bummer. It would have been nice to have that. Now, moving on to the arms, these are a major difference between the two. Wreck-Gar does not have these panels. So on either side, and you'll notice that the panels are asymmetrical, so there is his right arm, there's his left arm. I am happy to report, however, this is blast effect compatible, so that's one thing that Wreck-Gar does not offer, and Junkheap does, so awesome. Really do appreciate that. But yeah, you've got this gold on the forearms. You do have a little bit of detail here with the suspension, which is a nice touch, and then making your way up to these shoulders, you do get these little red spikes, which is really cool. And coming around to the back, it's nothing we haven't already seen, as I mentioned in that Wreck-Gar figure. This guy has less paint, I believe, than Wreck-Gar does, because Wreck-Gar's got an entire flame job going on right here. So this guy's maybe just a little bit more plain, but they've added a few things that made him unique and made him his own figure for sure. So, but even from the back, as you can see, this mold doesn't fall apart. This is a good looking mold. I mentioned in the Wreck-Gar review almost a year ago that it would have been nice if they would have had arm panels or some type of panels right here. So when you fold these fists in, you would be able to close this up. And when he's in bot mode, you wouldn't see that really gaping hollow area right there. So that's a little bit of a bummer that they didn't do that. But it's not the worst thing. At least it's from the back. So just some hollow areas in the legs, hollow areas in the backs of the arms. I wish they would have been able to do something with those. But for the most part, yeah, I think he looks the part. This is a good-looking figure on an already good mold and a good design. So getting into the articulation, we're going to run through that really quick because nothing is different between him and Wreck-Gar. You have that head on a ball joint, so you can go around, up, down, left, right, or, you know, side to side, whatever you want to do. You can come way up on those shoulders, and these are filled in. This is always a nice touch. Again, one of the reasons I like this design. And you can go full 360 as long as you don't run into his handlebars. And then you can get right at 90. It's hard to see right there, but you can get right at 90 on that single joint on the elbow. And then you get wrist bicep rotation all the way around. And you get a little bit of wrist drop right there if you want to use it, and then you do get wrist rotation if you want to take advantage of that as well. So coming down here to the waist, you get waist rotation, but you also get an ab crunch. So you do have the ability to utilize that. So that is a more than welcome option. And right here at this transformation joint, if you wanted to use it, like you could pull him apart and you could do a little bit of some matrix action right there if you wanted to do that. And he is tight enough. He's going to hold together for you. Well, I say that and then his waist, let's go. But right here, these joints are tight enough. He's going to hold together for you. He's not going to flop around. So it's kind of a cool option if you want to use it. Coming down here to the hips, get his saddlebags out of the way, and lo and behold, you get a full Junkheap Van Dam. That's a great split right there. Love it. And you could probably go even further if these saddlebags weren't in the way. So look at you being all flexible. My goodness. All right. Now, kicking forward that far. Kicking backward that far. And then at the knee, you can bend just under 90. It would have been nice to have gotten more, but this is still more than enough that you're going to need for posing. If for whatever reason you wanted to, you could chicken leg him, because that doesn't look weird. Nope. That looks totally normal. All right. And then you do have your thigh swivel, so you could go all the way around on that. And then down here at the feet, you can go forward that far. You can go back that far. And then for the ankle tilt, you can get that much ankle tilt out of him. So it's pretty significant. It's really not bad. Well, he does look like he's going to a dance party. Look at you, Mr. Junkheap. Very fancy. All right, so that is it for the details and the articulation. So what we'll do, I'm not going to make a separate segment for this. We're just going to talk really briefly about his accessories and about those blast effects. So let's go ahead and bring those in. So you have your wheels per the instructions. For Junkheap in particular, because he has these huge panels on his arms, you can't really fit these wheels on his arms unless you swing those out of the way, which you're certainly able to do so, but you're still going to run into interference right there. So per the instructions, you plug them in down here, and then you're good to go. All right. So plug it in, and then you've got two wheels on the side, and then of course you give him his melee weapon, the big murder axe. There we go. Plug that in, and then just spin that all day. Yay. It's a great distraction. But then guys, check it out. This is great. Of course, you have, as far as blast effect compatibility, you do have the ability to put rocket shoes on this guy so he can fly around. You don't really have anything else that you can use on this figure for blast effects, except for, oh, yes you can. Yes, you can. So look at that. Boom, boom, boom. He is ready to go to battle. Built-in blast effect on a built-in gun. So I can't even call this an accessory, but I can say that he does have blast effect compatibility, so it's good news. It's really good news. Uh-oh. I think he's angry. There we go. All right. So now that we got details, articulation, accessories out of the way, what we will do is we will go ahead now and we'll get him into his alt mode and we'll take a look at him from there. For those of you who are curious, yes, Junkheap absolutely can accept riders, and in this circumstance, I'm using the Studio Series Hot Rod. He's taking a little bit of a joyride here. He's not sitting on there as good as maybe he could be. I think his legs are a little bit further back here, and I think with a little bit of finessing, I could probably get him in a better position. But for those of you who are familiar with the 1980s country band Alabama, this is close enough to perfect for me. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the review. I just wanted to throw this in to show you that yes, he absolutely can accept a rider. Through the magic of video editing, here we have Junkheap in his motorcycle mode. And if you like the Studio Series Wreck-Gar, you're going to like Junkheap. They are more alike than they are different. There are a few minor differences here, so let's go ahead and get into it and take a look at those details. One of the things that I'm going to do a little differently this time is I'm going to start here at the back, because he does have his weapon that you can connect, but it just connects on this tiny little tab right here, and I know that in the course of messing with this guy I'm going to knock this around and it's going to come loose anyway, so I wanted to show you now, and then I'm going to go ahead and take that off, get it out of my way, so you can do your spin, you can have your fun. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way and put it off to the side. So making our way back up to the front now. Take a look at that front end. The windscreen looks good. The headlight is a little curious to me. Would have been nice if they had some clear plastic there instead of that brown. Maybe something to signify a little bit more that that would have been a headlight. It's just kind of meh right now. But I do like the details here on the front. You've got a few different things going on as far as the overall look in comparison to Wreck-Gar. You do have these forks right here looking good with that paint on there, and you've got the suspension showing right there. Coming around to the side, these sections on either side are different, and they're also asymmetrical, so we'll take a look at the other side as well. But yeah, you've got this, which is a little different than what we saw with Wreck-Gar, and he is loaded with spikes, so they are not sharp. You're not going to hurt yourself or anyone else, but they are there. You've got, of course, these spikes, and then the spikes on the wheels, and then these spikes. So plenty of spikes to go around. We've got a few spikes down in there for some good measure. And then you've got those engine details. As I always say, and nothing is different here, a little bit of paint would have gone a long way. I mean, he's got some paint on there, but a little bit more, I think, would have really set this guy off. So moving around to the back, you've got your saddlebags for whatever reason. For bot mode, I understand the function to get those out of the way for the hips. Here, make him fly? I don't know. Do something like that. It's up to you. And coming around to the back, you've got a little bit of detail there. It was a nice touch here with the suspension, or the perceived suspension, and maybe some brake lights, tail lights in there. So yeah, good attention to detail. And then coming around to this side, you can see down here you've got a little bit different action going on. So over here you have spikes. Over here you've got 3 spikes, but then you've got this, almost looks like a gun. Could be something else going on down there. So yeah, he doesn't look bad at all. He does have, just like Wreck-Gar, he does have the little kickstands, so you can keep him upright. And if you look inside the kickstands, there's a little bit of detail there as well. So that's nice. These look like skid plates, the bottoms of his feet. So that's really helpful. So that's really it. There's nothing to talk about as far as articulation goes in this mode, unless you want to move the handlebars up or down a little bit. or open and close those little kickstands. So let's go ahead and jump into the effects. He's not incredibly effects compatible. I mean, you could probably stretch it and find other things to do, but really we're just going to focus on a couple of those holes, and you plug them in, and there you go. So yeah, that's pretty much it in this mode. Now you do have holes down here. I don't know what exactly you would do with them. You could do something like that. They're great in his bot mode, but not so much in the motorcycle mode. So that's really up to you. Would have been nice if they had this 3mm port right here, down here, somewhere, somehow, some way, where you could have gotten him off the ground, maybe mid-transformation. He's shooting some rockets off while he's transforming, you know, rocket boots, whatever. But it is what it is. Taking a look at the top real quick, I did kind of gloss over this. Much like Wreck-Gar, he does have that gas cap, and he does have the instrument panel there as well. So, but yeah, I think, like I said, if you like Wreck-Gar, you know what you're going to get with this guy. He's just different enough that I enjoy him, and I don't feel like it was a complete copy and paste job. Transformation engineering, all that stuff is really similar, but he is still his own unique bot here. So, but now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and do some of those alt mode comparisons and see how he stacks up in this mode to some other figures. So of all the weird things about my G1 collection is the fact that I don't have a single G1 motorcycle at all in my collection. Not the original Wreck-Gar, nothing. So my substitute today is going to be the G1 SparkBot Sizzle, because at least as far as I remember, I don't think I've ever used him in a video. So there you go. There's Junkheap next to the G1 SparkBot Sizzle. Moving right along to our next comparison. This is, I believe, a deluxe class Chromia from the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Bayverse film. So this isn't the studio series. This is just one of those deluxe class figures that was released during the release of that movie, I believe in 2009. For our next alt mode comparison, this is the Power of the Primes Wreck-Gar. So you can see how those two guys look together. And for our final and most relevant comparison, this is the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar, which obviously is the basis for Junkheap here. So we'll take a little bit of time. We'll look at these guys from a few different angles, but you can tell right off the bat the basics here are the same. I mean, you've got a few different things that are different, you know, cosmetically, just the design up here, this little area right here. Everything else from here back, other than being a different color, is pretty much the same thing. So the front end is where they put most of their effort as far as trying to differentiate these two guys. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into a different angle here. So obviously this is the 3/4 front view. Here they are riding down the highway together. Ooh, look, now they're going the other direction. Oh, now they're driving away from us. But before they go, you know what we have to do, right? We get some double spin action going. Woo! Oh, Wreck-Gar won. He went a lot longer. Here we see them head to head. Here they are back to back. And finally, here they are coming at us head on. That's it for the alt modes, so let's get him back into his bot mode. We'll do some comparisons there. For our first bot mode comparison, as I mentioned earlier, I unfortunately do not have a G1 Wreck-Gar, nor do I have any G1 motorcycles in my collection whatsoever. So this is our substitute. This is the G1 SparkBot Sizzle. So for those of you who remember, he's got a little friction wheel down here with some flint inside, and if you spin this, he doesn't work anymore, but if you spin this, you get a little bit of that action going on. Maybe we'll get lucky and get a spark. I don't know. Yeah, we're not going to get lucky. He's sparkless. He lost his spark a long time ago. But anyway, yeah, there we have Junkheap next to our G1 representative, which is the SparkBot Sizzle. Moving along to our next comparison, here we see Junkheap next to the Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Chromia. So this is not the Studio Series figure. This is just the Deluxe Class that was released for the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen movie. And if I haven't mentioned it before, I don't know if it's the right word, but it's the word I'm going to use. I really despise this design. Very rarely do I bother to transform this figure into bot mode. I normally just keep her in her bike mode because she looks so much better there. But yeah, there you see Junkheap next to a Bayverse Insectoid Chromia. For our next comparison, this is the Power of the Primes Wreck-Gar. And since we saw him riding Junkheap earlier in the review, I thought it was only fair to bring Hot Rod in for the bot mode comparisons so you could see those two guys together. So a couple of Studio Series 86 figures looking pretty good together. And finally, here we have our most relevant bot mode comparison. These are both the same mold for all intents and purposes. So on the left, of course, is that Studio Series 86 Junkheap, and on the right is the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar. And as I mentioned earlier, they share a majority of their components, minus just a few minor things. And here we'll do a couple of different angles, and we'll do a compare and contrast here. But you can see the major points. Obviously, the heads are different, the chests are different, and Junkheap has these forearm pieces, whereas Wreck-Gar does not. From the waist down, actually probably from the midriff down, they're exactly the same figure. They do carry the same backpack, and they have the same accessories. So here they are from the front. Here we see them from the back. Here they are face to face. And here they are back to back. All right, that's going to do it for the bot mode comparisons, so let's get into those final thoughts. As I'm sure you're aware by now, typically whenever we get a remold of something from Hasbro and Takara, it's a full copy and paste job, and I'm thinking something along the lines of the Seekers or the Ironhide Ratchet twins, that kind of thing. And I was fully expecting the same thing here with Junkheap. I thought he was going to be just a complete copy and paste job from Wreck-Gar. And although they do share a lot of components and the design and the transformation and the engineering, there are just a few things on this Studio Series Junkheap figure that make him uniquely his own and make me really happy that I picked him up. So let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit, and we'll talk about some of those items. We'll start with the overall aesthetic. This guy looks cool. It's just a good-looking mold anyway. It was a good-looking mold with Wreck-Gar, and it's a good-looking mold here. They have little attention to the detail, so before he spins away from me, I'm talking about like this little suspension right in here that you can see, particularly in his alt mode. I love what they've done here with these arms, where they have these in the alt mode. They just blend right in, and they look perfect. And then in the bot mode, you know, they come up and you've got a gun and you've got a shield and you've got all that stuff. And of course it's blast effect compatible. So really, really cool. The little touches like that definitely make this guy his own figure. Now, I think that Wreck-Gar had a little bit more paint. So if you remember, Wreck-Gar had a flame job back here. I think he just overall had more paint applications than what Junkheap does. So I would have liked to have seen more paint on Junkheap, and then also these huge hollow areas right here. It's the same thing that we saw with Wreck-Gar. I guess I didn't expect them to fix it for this figure, this re-release, if you will. But it would have been nice to have had some kind of a panel there to cover those hollow areas up. But overall aesthetic, I think, is really good on this guy. He's got a great shelf presence. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. So moving on to our articulation on this figure. You're going to want for very little. This is just a good mold. It's a good design, plain and simple, when it comes to articulation and posing of figures. He's got it everywhere it counts. You know, if I'm going to knock him anywhere, I'm going to knock him on those knees and those elbows, because you get right at 90 on the elbows, you get under 90 on the knees, but with all the other articulation and all the other posability that you get, you're never going to miss it. I mean, for goodness sake, this is a Voyager class figure, and he's got an ab crunch. He's got waist rotation. He's got great motion in those feet. He has wrist swivel. You can move the hands up and down. Decent articulation in the head, so it's all there. I mean, this is one of those figures that I'm really happy. Whoever designed it, I'm really happy that Hasbro Takara hired them and set this guy up, because even little touches like this down here, when you open those ankles up, you've got fillers. Under the arms, you've got fillers. So you not only do you have great articulation, but it also doesn't show. So very much appreciated on that. So articulation, about the only thing that I could say from a wish list standpoint was it, I guess, butterfly joints in those shoulders. You know, if we could have had some butterfly joints so you could bring those arms forward across the chest, I guess that's about the only thing you really want for on this figure. So articulation, I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10. I think it's a job very well done. Moving on to accessories. I'm going to ding him on this one. It's what I do when we get copy and paste jobs. This is not to sound detrimental to him, but this is Wreck-Gar, and we get the same accessories as we got with Wreck-Gar. We got 2 wheels and a big axe. Although the axe is cool, seeing it twice, man, I don't know. I don't remember Junkheap having an axe, but I don't know. I guess I'm just underwhelmed by the accessories this time around. At least you get blast effect compatibility, but I'm not calling this an accessory, so not a lot to say here. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just disappointed. I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10 for accessories on this figure. Overall quality, I think for the most part the quality is really well done, and I do believe that for my case I have a bit of a one-off. I have a paint scratch back here as it's coming around. It's more prominent in the alt mode, in the motorcycle mode, because it's right there on that fuel tank. But other than that, the joints are tight. He came with everything that he was supposed to come with. He does what he's supposed to do, so I don't have any major issues there, but I'm really disappointed in that scratched paint. You don't get a lot of paint on this figure anyway, and then what paint I did get, I've got a scratch on it, so I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on quality for that. Bringing us to our final bullet, which is overall value. So try to make a long story as short as possible. I picked this figure up along with the Studio Series Ironhide and Studio Series RC from the Bumblebee movie. All 3 of these figures were on the shelf at a Target in North America in the wild. I brought them to the front, tried to ring them up. They wouldn't scan. The manager had to come over. She was looking it up, couldn't find anything, and I ended up paying $18.98 each for the figures. So RC and Ironhide are both deluxe class. He's a Voyager class, so I was able to score a Voyager class figure for $19 US at a Target. I don't think that's going to be your experience. I think you should be prepared to pay $30 US for this figure when you see him in the wild, or if you get him online. So for me, the overall value I think was great. But even if you have to pay the MSRP of $30 US for this guy, I still think that he's worth it. So in my case, I'm giving him an overall 8 out of 10 on overall value for that $19 US. So that brings us to our epic conclusion here of our scoring. So out of a possible 50 points, the Studio Series 86 Junkheap gets 39 out of 50, which puts him at 78%. Now that score may seem kind of low, but really what's dragging him down is the low score where I dinged him on those accessories. Everything else is great on this guy, and I think that if you pick him up, you're going to enjoy him. And if you have the Wreck-Gar, you know what you're getting. And these 2 guys, they just look good together. They absolutely complement each other, and they have a great shelf presence. He has a great shelf presence alone. He has it even better with Wreck-Gar. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you were entertained. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe, and feel free to leave some comments. Let me know what you think about Junkheap, about Wreck-Gar, about life, anything. It's fine. So until we see you guys in the next review, take care.